let's talk about the creative process. I feel like a lot of writers often struggle with putting the ideas in their heads onto the paper. Obviously, I can be guilty of this sometimes. You know, you just have such a strong idea of what you want to write in your head, and then when you go to write it, it's like, wait, how do I do this? How do I begin? And something that does help me is just writing like a little outline, like just a little blurb for each. If I'm working, on a novel for each chapter, nothing like super in depth, just kind of like a basic like, this is what I want to happen in chapter 1. This is what I want to happen in chapter 2, and that's good. But I think it's also okay to write that outline and then stray from it a little bit. When I was writing Not Quite Dead, obviously I did this. I wrote an outline for each chapter, but there were a lot of aspects of the story that just kind of came to me as I went along. I think probably the biggest example is the character of Stacey Powers. She was, I kind of just invented her as a character for the protagonist Violet to talk to. But she kind of formed into having her own mini character arc, and I ended up really liking the dynamic that she had with Violet, and I expanded upon that. So there's stuff like that you can't really like predict that happening, and it's happening with the project that I'm currently working on, where I've written the outlines for each chapters, but there's like a couple where I sort of changed directions a bit. It's fun. It's just fun seeing like where your brain goes from these ideas, and I wouldn't be afraid to stray from the original ideas that you had. The best metaphor I can think of is to sort of see your outline as like a map, from one destination to another. But the path that you take isn't necessarily like so linear. You can take a couple detours, you can even change the destination if you change your mind. Nothing is really set in stone. So just keep that in mind as you're writing.